My name is Shaun Mulholland. I'm the city manager of the city of Lebanon, and I'm here to answer the question of the week of Leb Asks. Today's question is involving it's a response to the tax rate setting video that I created the previous week. So the question is, thanks for the helpful video about the significant property tax increase plan for this fall. Could you please outline what the additional revenues will be funding? So what I did is I took some slides from the 2024 budget presentation, a subset of those, and I'll talk about those in just a minute here to help answer this question. So just to give an example, here is the difference between the general fund budget from 2023 to 2024. That budget represented a 5.8% increase. That was the budget that I presented to the city council. And then we have budgetary impacts, and that's an increase of $3 million, just over $3 million. And if we also look at what the cost drivers are, those represented $3 million, just over $3 million, 96,000. So you can see the difference between the two. And I'll go through each one of those. So the primary cost driver was increase in salaries. Employees received a 2.2%. The city calls it a general wage increase, GWI. Most people would refer to it as a cost of living increase. And then some employees receive a 3% merit or step. Those who are maxed out, which there are quite a few, they do not receive that. They only receive the 2.2. The city's health insurance went up 3.9. Dental insurance went up 3.9%. Health insurance was 3.9%. Dental was 4.7%. That cost increase represents $446,900. That's actually the lowest increase we've seen in quite some time. Other communities were seeing a 20 to 25% increase. Some were in the teens, but we're, if not the lowest, one of the lowest increases in health insurance in the insurance pool, municipal insurance pool. Retirement was increased $87,320. Retirement, Social Security, workers' comp, unemployment compensation cost. Human services budget, there was a significant increase in that. A lot of the COVID funds have now dissipated, and the cost now falls solely on the city, and that represented a $487,000, just over $487,000 increase. A lot of that, a good portion of that was the emergency shelter that the city stood up this particular year. Wastewater repairs, maintenance, $324,000. Water transfer, $241,000 to capital reserve fund. Library repairs, $54,000. And then DPW vehicle leases. This is the first year we've had to lease those vehicles. In the past, we bought those outright, but we don't have the funds to do that anymore. So we've leased those vehicles, and the first year's cost represents $192,000. And then an additional increase in repairs for sidewalks and traffic signals is $202,000. So that represents the increase. These items I just talked to you about are actually more than the total increase in the budget, as I showed you in the previous slide before, that indicates that. Those what the additional revenues would go to for the cost of that. I think it's important to understand that this is not so, part of it is clearly spending. The other part of it is other decisions that were made and other impacts we have, like our unassigned fund balance is our rainy day fund, shall we say, our reserves are dwindling down, and I can use less and less of those to offset the tax rate. So that is a big factor in the tax rate increase. The other part of that, the other portions of that is the veterans credits the council approved, increasing the veterans credits, which added 8 cents on the tax rate. So that's a tax credit, that's not spending. And then there were some, when the budget was presented, this is the budget I presented, there were additional items that the council added on. The council approved a change from a part-time assistant human services director and made that position full-time. That's $60,000, that's 2 cents in the tax rate. There were increases that were made after the budget was proposed that included $165,000 for a grant towards two electric street sweepers. The city received $2.9 million in grant, and the city has to make a matching contribution of that $165,000. And subsequent to that, an additional $53,000 was added as well for that same project. And those are what the increases in spending. But again, it's part of it is the increases in spending, and part of it is a reduction in revenues And also the reduction in the unassigned fund balance, I can use less of that to offset the tax rate. And I talked about that in my presentation on the 8th, May 8th. So that is this week's Ask Leb question. Keep the questions coming. We appreciate that. And we want to make sure that we're able to help people understand what our budget process is and certainly how our tax rate is set and what that's about.